You're listening to the Kennel Confidential podcast brought to you by the United Tree and Feist Association. I'm your host, Davin Ramage.
I'm your co-host, Chad Wagner.
Let's get into the episode. All right, episode number 2 of the Kennel Confidential podcast. We have got Todd Coles with the Powered by Booster Dogs on the phone. Got Chad here, of course.
Hello, Mr. Todd.
Hey, Chad. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Great talking to you.
I don't know if you might could do better.
Well, Todd, we'll give you a chance before we jump into the dogs. We'll give you a chance to introduce yourself and just tell us what some of your hobbies are when you're not walking behind dogs.
Oh, well, name's Todd Coles. I'm here in Batesville, Arkansas. Been here all my life, pretty much. I farm for University of Arkansas. That's what I do for a living. Of course, my dogs take up just about all my time. Other than that, I don't have that many dogs. I just like to spend that much time with them. I like to chase walleye. I'm not very good at it, but I like to chase them. And that's pretty much sums up how I spend my days around here.
Well, it sounds like it could be a lot worse ways.
Oh, I'm sure it could. I feel like I'm pretty fortunate to get to do what I do.
All right. Well, if you're ready, we can jump into the booster dogs then.
Yeah, let's go for it. See what we can do here.
All right. So tell us, when did you get started in squirrel dogs?
I first got my love for squirrel dogs when I was a little kid. My stepdad's uncle always had some squirrel dogs around, and I got to play with them around his place some, and I really enjoyed that. And then I had some family that they was coon hunters. I liked that, but the squirrel dogs always took more of my attention as far as what I liked. And when I finally got through my teenage years and got settled in, it was in the 80s, mid-80s, I decided that I wanted a squirrel dog for myself. I wound up, instead of getting a Feist or anything like that, or my ex-wife's uncle had an old crippled up black and tan Gyp. He said, she'll tree squirrels, take her. But she'd tree a coon too. That led me off on coon hunting. I coon hunted for about 10 years, and I got tired of going coon hunting and having to get up and go to work the next morning. And I decided I was going to go back to what I originally set out to do, and I went and got me a squirrel dog. I bought a puppy, little dog I had called Spaz. Bought him from Jim Ray. He had advertised in the coonhound magazines, and and he was here in Arkansas. He's the only person in the world I knew anything about that possibly might have a squirrel dog. And I went and bought Spaz from him as a weaning pup. He is a great little dog. It's went from there, and that was in '95.
Did you do a lot of breeding out of Spaz?
Not a lot. I did some. Where Spaz affects my pedigrees now, and this is kind of a neat deal. They was a man and a woman lived about 30 minutes from me over here out in the sticks, a little community we call Sandtown. Some of the car guys might know Donnie Pressure with the Coon Creek curs. That's where he calls home. In fact, just right across the road from where he lives, these folks had these 2 little old Feist dogs. Got acquainted with them, and the woman's brother lived down in South Mississippi. He was a state trooper down there. He'd sent them up here to run loose and get started, and they wouldn't let them run loose either in the pen or in the house. But they wanted to breed that female to Spaz, so I did. That got a little Gyp I called Hershey. It wasn't too long after that Booster came along, and they called me back wanting to breed her again, and we bred her to Booster that time, and that got the Skittles dog that I won the NKC World Hunt with.
I got you.
And so that's how Skittles and Hershey was half sisters. They had the same mother, and one was out of Spaz and one was out of Booster. One of the best crosses through my whole time was breeding the Hershey dog to Booster. I made that cross, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. There's various dogs from those crosses show up through my pedigrees today.
So that's really kind of what's got your booster line going?
That's a big part of it. Now, Booster's mother was one of the old original dogs that come from Jerry Arlington out in Tennessee that had the River Run kennels.
Okay.
And people will argue about this. He had River Run Jewel and River Run Ruby. Everybody gives JD the credit on the River Run dogs being squirrel dogs, but I feel like Ruby and Jewel played a very big part in that. Booster's mother was a litter mate to them. So also through time, I had the opportunities to breed him to some full River Run dogs, and some of you may know, some of you may not. Arlington bred them extremely tight. There was really no other influence other than JD and them 2 old females that was litter mates to Booster's mother. And so I had an opportunity to breed to some of them, and I always kept something out of that when I got the chance. So
what year was that as far as generations or timeline? How long have you been, would you say you've been breeding the Powered by Booster dogs?
Okay. This all started 99, 2000.
Okay, so 23 years, I guess.
Yeah, and see, something I forgot to mention, the O'Neill's Daisy dog, the people over at Sandtown had that I bred Spaz and Booster to. She was a 3/4 Cochran's Buck daughter, and Cochran's Buck was straight off of JD and River Run Ruby. There you go, one of the old litter mates. I tell everybody, as far as dogs are concerned, to do what I want to do, I have been the luckiest person in the world. I mean, it's just like things have fell into place. But another cross that I did, it don't affect my dogs as much as I would like for it to, because she lived a short life. I had a female that I called Laney, and what she was out of Booster and Owen Brayson's old East Bowley Duchess dog, and Duchess was out of a dog called River Run Rooster, and he was JD and Ruby, and her mother was Jewel, which there you go, another litter mate. At the time we did that cross, that would have been, I think that would have been in 99. As far as I know, at that time, that litter of pups was the only dogs you could find anywhere that had all 3 of those old litter mate females on a 3-generation pedigree. And but I bred Lamy a couple of times before she died, and she was a fine dog, real nice dog. Owen had a male that they called East Bowley Duke. In South Mississippi, people still talk about him. Came out of that litter, and he didn't get bred much. Owen didn't breed him much. That blood is in just about everything I have also.
Well, you talk about just being extremely lucky and things falling into place. I think you've got to be doing something intentionally on purpose, just, because if I understand, you are 4-time consecutive ATFA Breeder of the Year at the moment, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And when I talk about things being lucky and things falling into place is back then those dogs being available. I was too broke to go breed to whatever I wanted to breed. I just got lucky that what I wanted to breed was around close. Worked out that way. I mean, getting to breed that Duchess dog of Owens, I mean, that was a fluke. They had a little old hunt over here northwest of me at Clinton, Arkansas, and I loaded up and went over there, and just so happens Owen was there with Dutch, and she wound up started coming in heat that day, and we talked and visited, and he wound up and left her with me. If it hadn't been a chance happening, us meeting like that cross would have never took place.
Was that an ATFA event?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
And for the listeners who may not know, ATFA that we're discussing is the American Tree and Feist Association.
Yep.
How many events a year does the ATFA hold?
Okay, let's see. We'll start off in September in Missouri. Well, I say September 30th. What dates fall, it should be October, but let's say October. We'll start off in October in Missouri. November, we'll go to Tennessee. December, we'll be here in Arkansas. January, we'll go to Georgia. February, we'll go to Mississippi. And March, we'll go to Land Between the Lakes in Kentucky. So we hold 6 events, but they be 2 hunts at each event.
What's the participation like as far as the number of dogs at an event?
This past year, I believe we averaged 23 dogs across all the events.
Which is
some
pretty good. I mean, that at least you get plenty of cast and you get to see plenty of dogs and hunt against other people.
Yeah. You do, and spreading it around all over the country like that, you get to hunt different terrains. You go where I host the hunt here in Arkansas, flat bottomland. I mean, it's as flat as your kitchen table as far as you can see, and then ended up in LBL in the hills there. And of course, we got the hills in Missouri starting it off. We'll hunt hardwoods, we'll hunt pine, hardwood mix. It's just neat seeing all the different parts of the country and treeing squirrels in it.
Well, and not only are you 4-time breeder of the year, just last year you had 3 dogs in the ATFA Dog of the Run, and 2 of those were in the top 3. Which dogs were those, and hit on those just a little bit?
Okay, that was my boss dog and my banjo dog. Banjo is out of boss. Oh, wait a minute. No, hold it. I'm telling you wrong. I'm sorry. It was Banjo and Dixie was in the top. Boss was down there. I think he was 7th or 8th, something like that. Banjo is out of boss, and Dixie is her mother. Okay. So that was a mother and daughter team that was 2nd and 3rd.
Which is pretty good. That's a pretty good testament, I'd say.
Yeah, it is, and to explain a little bit how Dog of the Year works, it kind of goes off the same. I mean, you get the same points as you do as champion points. However you place in a hunt, whatever champion points you get is that you get those points towards Dog of the Year. And at the end of the year, whoever's on top wins, which was Clint Atkins with Lulu, and she done a real nice job this past year. Real nice. I've drawn her and been in the woods with her. She's a nice dog. It's Banjo. She made the whole season. Dixie made the whole season, and poor old boss, he got the short straw though. When a dog champion's out in ATFA, they're done. They don't continue competing. All you can do is a champion's cast after that. So we started off last year, got a win in Missouri and a win in Tennessee, and he was done. So that's, he made the top 10 off the first 2 hunts. And, that's one of them deals. Who knows what could have happened? That may be all he wound up with anyway. But it would have been nice to see, and that happens to a lot of good dogs with us. There's been 2 or 3 over the last few years that blew in and championed out real quick, and we've had a couple have to go all the way to LBL before somebody knocked them off the top. Marty Brown was hunting a dog for Hoyt Gilbert. Year before last. She won one of them in Missouri, placed 2nd or 3rd in the other one, and then went to Tennessee and placed 2nd or 3rd, and then won the evening hunt there and championed out all the way to LBL. We wasn't sure anybody was going to knock her off. That was pretty cool, but I tell you, it would have been hard for anybody to beat Clint and Lulu this year, though. They did well, did very well.
Well, tell us a little bit then. What does it take to become Breeder of the Year?
Okay, it works kind of the same way. On every ATFA registration form, there's a spot down there that tells who the breeder was on that dog. And any dogs participating, well, first off, you have to have more than one dog participating that you're the breeder on. You're not considered if you've only got one dog participating. If you've got more than one dog participating, any dog that places that your name is down there listed as the breeder, you get those champion points towards Breeder of the Year. At the end of the year, whoever's got the most wins.
What do you think your biggest contributor to 4 consecutive years? What's your biggest success contributor?
I've got dogs. I'm producing dogs that can compete and place, but I have to say the absolute biggest contributor is that I am fortunate enough to have a group of guys that want to come and participate in the ATFA with the dogs that come from me.
Who is it that's helping you the most?
It varies. James Day's hunting my dogs. Chad West is hunting my dogs. Tony Key, he comes some. He's hunting my dogs. Preacher, Micah Carter, we call him Preacher. He's got my dogs. Let's say I know I'm forgetting somebody, and Bobby Day and Travis Day out in Georgia, they hunt my dogs.
Maybe I might have put you on the spot a little bit when I said the most, but it sounds like you got plenty of people helping you.
I do, and I mean, without that, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, law of average, with that many people hunting these dogs, I'm at least going to be in the running. And it's growing. I'm hearing they may be 1 or 2 new ones show up this year with dogs of mine. Like I say, if it weren't for those guys, I mean, it'd just be me and Ryan hunting 2 dogs. And Ryan's my son. We may or may not do well. I championed 2 dogs out last year. A champion Boss and Banjo championed at LBL. The Breeder of the Year points works the same way. If you champion a dog out, you're not getting any more points off that dog. Those other guys coming in, and that means a lot. Year before last, now I had a great year last year. Like I say, I championed 2 dogs and all, but year before last, I went the whole year, and myself personally. Now Ryan did plenty of winning with Banjo, but myself personally, I never got on the podium. That's the way it goes. And so, them guys was there to take up my slack, thank goodness.
I might back you up a little bit, Todd, but I got a few questions for you, and we're going to keep it a little bit on the breeding, I guess. But
okay.
I can't remember who I got your number from, but I'd talked to a couple of people about you a few years ago, and everybody I talked to said, he's kind of hard to talk to. He's kind of hard to talk to. And I said, what's he hard to talk to for? Well, he likes his dogs. And I said, well, that's fine. I like my dogs too. And I got your number, and I called you. And I remember part of the first conversation we had within the first 5 minutes of that phone call. You told me, said, well, some people think I'm hard to get along with because I like my dogs. And you said, my dogs suit me. Why should I go anywhere else?
That's true.
And if you remember, I said, I've kind of got the same sentiments, Todd. I understand, and I've never heard it put that way, but I like it. So, and I do appreciate that. And I mean, I like to think we've been friends ever since, and I've met you since then, and we've hunted, some together and talk a lot. But when you focus your breeding, I know that you do a lot of line breeding.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I have noticed about ATFA is there's several people that are line breeding in ATFA.
Yeah, there are a few.
So Davin asked me a question here on our first episode, and I think I'm just going to ask it to you and see what you think. Do you think the dogs out there that you're running on in competition, are they getting better or are they getting worse than they was 20 years ago?
Well, I listened to y'all's 0 episode, and it's a funny thing. Yeah, I listened to what you said about that, and you did not that whole deal. You did not say a thing I could disagree with, but it's hard to say. I don't believe the hunts are doing that much to improve the dogs. I believe that they are individual breeders that are doing better. I mean, any dog can win any hunt on any given day, especially if you get in a situation where you can throw a handler in there too. I remember back, I think back at like in the late 90s, early 2000s when I was hunting a lot of competition then. And it's even hard to compare that because the numbers are so different now. I mean, back then, there was very few organizations around putting on hunts. If there was a hunt, everybody was there. You'd average 30 to 40 dogs at some of these hunts. And I'm talking about, these was NKC hunts mostly, curs and Feist. But you'd look around and there'd be a handful of people who think, yeah, he's going to be hard to beat. But for the most part, you wasn't too concerned about the rest of them. But I will say nowadays, probably, I guess, on average, the dogs are a little better. There's fewer numbers participating in the hunts, but I think the number of dogs that might beat you have grown by a little bit. I guess would be the best way to put it.
I know I go to an ATFA hunt and I look at the table and the winning dogs up there. I've noticed that, and I'm not going to mention any names, but I see a lot more dogs hitting that table that are from a line breeding background.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of look at that, and that that really interests me as a breeder as well.
Well, it does me too, and I know I've told you that this is my whole outlook on breeding and why I line breed. These Feists come from such a diverse background. You've got your Mullins, you've got your dogs, you've got my dogs, you've got take all of us that do our line breeding programs. Yeah, we're line breeding Feist dogs, and you can look at mine and tell it's one of mine. You can look at yours and tell it's one of yours. But my dogs come from a different background than your dogs. They're made. You get back so far, you don't know what's there. So
well, I don't know if there's so much difference, and we got some questions coming up on that here in a minute. But
my is if I cross my dogs with your dogs, granted, we may get some fine dogs. I mean, we may get something better than either one of us have. You never know. But you're making something totally new. I mean, totally new. So, yeah.
I agree. You could get that one outstanding dog, but you're going to lose your consistency.
Yes, I think so. And that's my driving force behind what I do.
And know you like to be consistent and like what you have. What are the traits that your dogs have that you're consistently producing that you do like?
One, they tend to have a squirrel when they treat. They're not a dog that's going to tree you a bunch of old cold den treats. Now, in saying that, if squirrels aren't moving, you hunt for 30 minutes to an hour and you've not treed, you might as well go to the house because it's just not a day to be out there. But you turn them loose, squirrels are moving. They'll go in there and they'll get treed. You kill that squirrel, you just wait to see where they tree next because it ain't going to be just a minute. And they're fast. They are really fast. And like I say, you're going to see the squirrels. Now, I ain't saying we don't tree den trees. We do, but everybody does. But they tend to have the squirrel, and they get under them fast. They're very intelligent. They can wind the squirrel. They may not have quite as big a winding nose as some dogs do, but they pretty good at it. They will work a track on the ground. They'll use their eyes and ears too. Sometimes you can watch them, and they'll kind of figure out what works best for them that day, and that's what they'll go with. It's neat to see how they do. And another thing, it's not so much on the hunting aspect. They are in no way are they aggravating around the house. A lot of people get my dogs and take them home, and they're hunting dogs and house dogs both.
I like that in a dog myself. So, I was saying that ours may not be so much different, and I'll tell you why. I said that a minute ago. Is I wasn't born yesterday, and it's kind of a argumentative thing. But one of the biggest dogs that's the foundation dog of a lot of these Feist is Smith Street.
That's right.
I mean, if you look back in a lot of pedigrees over a big area, I don't care if you're north, south, east, or west, you're going to find Streak. I'd almost guarantee it.
Yep.
So, Booster, I know you got him in around 96, 97.
Yep.
And he went back to Streak.
He was straight out of Streak.
Straight out of Streak, and you got him getting a haircut.
Yep.
Talking about luck, you did get some luck in there.
Yeah, I sure did.
When you got this little barbershop dog, I guess we'll say, how long did it take for you to know he was the dog for you that you was going to base all of your breeding from then on off of? Did you know that right off, or?
Oh, no. Not at all. I went to hunting, and he was wild and crazy. He'd tree a squirrel that he might leave the country on a deer. They ain't no telling what that dog was going to do next. I tell people this, and it's the truth. I had him in my crosshairs a time or two and just had to make myself not pull the trigger. I was so mad at him. And when I got him, I didn't know how he was bred. I had to trace him all the way back to where he come from. When I found out what he was, I sure enough got excited because I was excited about the river run dogs. Everybody knew what Streak was. So I just kept hunting him. He started slowing down on the nonsense and treeing more squirrels, and he turned into a dog over about 3 or 4 months. He was just something else. Now, I'll tell you too, he was one of them dogs. If you hunted him every day, he was like a squirrel treeing robot. But you lay him off for 4 or 5 days, not get to go. 2 or 3 days, it was just like starting over again.
You sure he wasn't a cold-backed horse?
That's about what he was like. That's about what he was like.
Unfortunately, he went blind, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I had one good competition season with him. That was in the fall of '98, winter and spring of '99. I wished I could have continued with him because there's no telling what that dog would have done. I took him to Elnora. They had 87 dogs there that year, and I placed him 9th there out of that. Hunted him around here, did good in these hunts around here, and wound up. And he was, by March of '99, he was past going. I shouldn't have took him. He was running into stuff. I took him down to Forest City to the Arkansas State hunt, and they was, I don't know, there's 30, 40 dogs there at that one. He wound up and won the state hunt with him when he was already blind.
Wow, that's a pretty cool story.
That shows you the nose power and the willpower. He wanted to please you so much, and he had all the senses that he's going to do it anyway.
He was a heck of a dog. These dogs I've got now, they carry a lot of his traits. I see a lot of Booster in these dogs. they do things, sometimes you can't explain. But I mean, they ought to show. I mean, I've got dogs running around here now in a 6, 7, 8 generation pedigree will go back to him 12, 15 times. But one thing I have noticed, and I think it's more to do with the way I handle my dogs now than anything, because he was a pen dog. He was either in the pen or he was hunting. Lord knows where I'd find that crazy thing if I just let him run loose. But my dogs now, whether I'm hunting or not, spend a lot of time running free, and they are considerably more calmer. I believe if I kept them in a pen, they'd be just as crazy as he was. So,
I know the first dog that I ever heard of that was out of your dogs and out of Booster, and probably, I don't know, I feel one of the most underrated dogs out there that get talked about is Skittles. Now Skittles, she done a lot, and she was she started quite a bit. Now I'm not going to go down that road, but she did start quite a bit.
Yeah, she did. I'll tell you the deal on her. I won the NKC World Hunt with her in 2001. That was curs, Feist, bird dog crosses, hound crosses. There wasn't any straight bird dogs or there wasn't any straight hounds, but about everything else was there. A lot of the big-time dogs you hear from back in the day was there, most of them, in fact. And it was the first ever full elimination world hunt. So she had to win her cast every round. Not only did she win her cast every round, it went 4 rounds to get down to 2 dogs. She was high-scoring cast winner 3 of those rounds. But in saying that, I sold her. And the reason I sold her is I had 3 booster daughters here. I had Skittles. I had Annie, which Annie was out. She was out of the last booster in Hershey litter. I kept her. And then I had the Laney dog that I talked about a while ago, out of Booster and East Bowley Duchess. And all 3 of them were extremely nice dogs. But the boys getting into ball, and I'm not hunting much. Really don't need that many dogs around here. So I was going to thin down. I decided I'd just sell Skittles. And, you look at that. You got 3 booster daughters here. You didn't sell your best one. I thought more of Annie and Laney than I did Skittles. They had a little more nose power than what Skittles had. She really liked a hot squirrel. On a bad day, she wasn't going to treat him much at all, where Annie and Laney would every now and then. I took Skittles and went down, spent a week with Tim Cosby hunting down there in that big timber, and he wore me out. I wished I'd have brought them other two. Oh,
now had Annie and Skittles, had they calmed down a little bit from what Booster started out?
Annie did, and Skittles was somewhat, but now I'm going to tell you, Skittles was probably the goingest female I ever owned. Like I say, she liked a hot track, and she didn't care how far she had to go to find one. She would go. But now she'd handle, if she was around where she could hear you and all, and around the house she was fine. Annie was much more laid back. Laney, she was kind of in between the two. That wild, crazy stuff, I'm going to contribute that to coming from the river run side. And Laney was carrying a lot more. Anybody's messed with river run dogs in the past knows that they liable to have some gold to them, and if you ain't careful, a few other things.
I heard a little bit goes a long way.
It can, but if you use it right, it is really good stuff.
Well, speaking of selling dogs, which you sold Skittles on purpose, and in my research and digging and listening to some of your other stuff, and I come across a story where you accidentally sold a dog named Lulu, right?
Yeah.
One of those where you put a price on her and didn't think she'd go, and then she did. Somebody put their money where your mouth was.
That's exactly right. She moved to Bowling Green, Kentucky one weekend.
Okay. So after that, you jumped out and got a littermate of hers?
Yeah.
Just really out of regret, right?
Well, yeah. I put a price on Lulu that I didn't think anybody paid. I was bad wrong. It took about 45 minutes, and he couldn't give me that money fast enough. I learned a valuable lesson there. And but yeah, I went and bought a litter mate to her. Within a couple of weeks, I couldn't tell I sat back any, other than I just missed Lulu.
Which was a big sigh of relief. And so the dog you bought's name was Brownie.
Yep.
And one thing that kind of reached out to me about that story when I heard it was that Brownie was run over, right?
Yeah. She got down here on the road and had a run in with a car. That was it.
Well, you mentioned that you listened to mine and Chad's first episode, so I hit on that Cedarwood Smoke dog that I had going a little bit. He was 16 months old and had him in a competition back in March of this year, and he got hit, which I'm real soft. Got a big soft spot for dogs anyway, whether it's a hunting dog laid up in the kennel or a dog on my couch. But I wallered in that a little bit. So, just out of curiosity, a guy that with your experience and at that point, as long as you'd been doing it by the time you got to Brownie, did that slow you down any?
No, it didn't. Actually, it probably more than anything lit a fire under me because I was about to be out of blood. I got with a buddy of mine that I'd placed some dogs with and said, I need you to do something. He did it for me just like I wanted it done, and here I am.
So who'd you get when you called your buddy? Who'd you get out of that?
Moon Pie.
And so who's her top and bottom?
Her sire is a dog called Prince, and her mother is a dog called Iron Sport Sandy. Or not Sandy, I'm sorry, Iron Sport Ellie Mae. Ellie Mae, her sire was Hawkeye, which was out of the Booster and Hershey cross.
So that goes back to your old stuff a little bit.
Yeah, Ellie Mae's mother was a dog called Iron Sport Barbara Jean, and Barbara Jean was out of Iron Sport Sandy, which was out of the Booster and Hershey cross.
So you've still got Moon Pie now then? You've still got her in the kennel? Or in the yard?
Oh, actually, she's in there on the couch.
Well, Chad will connect with you on that one, we know.
Yeah, Moon Pie's the queen around here. But on the top side, too, the Prince dog that's her sire, his mother was my old Annie dog. Then his sire out of Laney.
Okay.
So,
well, that just drives that line breeding home then.
Oh, yeah.
So once you got Moon Pie, she kind of brought you back into competition hunting, I understand, right?
Yeah, she did. I mean, at that time, I still had old Annie, but Lord, she was 14 years old. She lived to be 16.
Wow. So what kind of success in the ATFA did you have with Moon Pie?
She's ATFA Grand Squirrel Champion, 2020 Dog of the Year.
Tell us a little bit how long it took her to reach that.
She championed out at 4 years old, actually in 2020. Her first season, we got on the table a time or two, whatever. And then her second season, she got a win in Arkansas. And that's another thing with ATFA. We have rally hunts and we have regional hunts. Arkansas is a regional hunt. Now, I say we have two events a while ago. Mississippi's actually just one event. It's a rally hunt, and what we do, you add the scores in the morning and the scores in the evening to see who wins. But you can win one rally hunt and have the points and make squirrel champion. But to do it on regional hunts, you have to have 2 wins, and they have to be in different states. So she won a Arkansas regional that next year. Well, and she's, still placing here, placing there. The next year rolls around. We're doing okay, placing here, placing there. She wins the Arkansas regional again. So it's, she gets the points, but she don't get the win. Then the following year, and it was her year. I mean, her 4-year-old year was something else. At that time, we didn't have the Missouri hunt. Tennessee was our first hunt. Of course, she was in heat, so she didn't make the Tennessee hunt. So then Arkansas was our next hunt. After that, she placed fourth in the morning and second in the evening. And from that point on, the rest of the season, she placed second in every hunt till the LBL rally hunt, the last hunt of the year. She won it. We was having a pretty tight dog of the year race that year. That sold it up for her. She done it as perfect as a dog could do it in ATFA. She stayed in the running and got the win in the last hunt to seal dog of the year and champion out. And then she went on and made the fastest you can make grand in ATFA is in 3 hunts, and she did that.
Very cool.
So she had 2 wins and 1 second in the grand in the champions hunts. So she was a good little dog.
And so once you got her championed out, you've already mentioned a dog named Boss. Is he what come along next for you?
Yeah.
How old's Boss now?
He was going along at the same time. Ryan was hunting Boss. My dogs, I guess they kind of get hooked up with whoever's feeding them. And Ryan, I mean, he done all right with Boss. He placed him. In fact, that one of those Arkansas hunts he had won it if it hadn't been for Moon Pie. I took first and he took second. He had enough points to champion forever. And then, like I say, last year, Ryan decided he was going to hunt Banjo for me, and I'd hunt Boss since Moon Pie was done. First 2 hunts we went to, I put 2 wins on him. And I got a win in Missouri and I got a win in Tennessee, and then he was done. So
where does he fall in your line breeding? Who's he out of?
Okay, he's out of the Ellie Mae dog. He's a half brother to Moon Pie. They got the same mama. His daddy is a dog called, well, his registered name is Coles Coon Creek Booyah. He's passed now, but Donnie Pressure raised him. His sire was a booster son, and his mother was a booster daughter. So he was a double booster grandson. But we did that. That was the last litter Ellie Mae had. She had 2 pups. Had 2 male pups, Boss, and a dog called Tank. My buddy Randy Pounds, he's got him. We kept both them pups, and Tank will die with him, and Boss will die with me. We talked in a lot of competition hunting. I really, more than anything, I'm a pleasure hunter. I like to hunt. I do this ATFA stuff. I enjoy the people and seeing them, and got a lot of friends there. I guess I'm one of them guys at any time I could walk away from the hunt and it not bother me too bad. I'm still gonna have these dogs, and I'm gonna be pulling the camper down here and through the winter and staying a week at a time. So,
well, I know you do more pleasure hunting, but you was talking about Boss and Moon Pie kind of come up at the same time. But one of the best part about these hunts is meeting people. And the first time that I ever met you face to face and everything was up at Elnora, and you were hunting Moon Pie and Ryan was hunting Boss.
Yeah, you drew Ryan, didn't you?
I drew Ryan and Boss, and matter of fact, my first ATFA hunt, of course, you got to have a ATFA member sign off on they seen your dog tree a squirrel, and Ryan was able to sign off on my bow dog because he was at that hunt. We was at that hunt together.
Right. Yep.
And that's how, we got to meet. And then speaking of Ryan, I know he hunted Banjo.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he done a whole lot better with Banjo, I guess, than he did with Boss, it looks like, because he couldn't get Boss finished. And then I'm looking down here at Banjo, a squirrel champion, regional winner, Missouri regional, 5th in the afternoon, 4th, and Tennessee regional 2nd place, and Coxwell Winter Classic 1st place, and Kentucky regional 1st place. So he was definitely able to get it done with Banjo. He must just took up a Banjo a little better, you think?
Yeah, he did. But now, hey, that Georgia win put on her. He didn't make
what
that.
Now?
I said that Georgia win I put on Banjo. Ryan didn't make it.
Well, you should have blamed it on him being preoccupied with getting married And now that the marriage is over with, he can get focused back on dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that has a lot to do with it. He's got his mind clear now. The honeymoon's over, so he can get back to hunting. In fact, he's got my little fiddle dog that's out of Toby and Banjo over there with him right now hunting her. And
how old is Banjo now?
Banjo is 4 years old. That's a kind of a funny story too. I sold her as a started pup to a man up in Missouri. One of the deals when he bought her, he wanted to bring her back and breed her to something here. And he was an older gentleman. He was up in his 80s, and he called me that next spring. He wanted to breed her. We got to talking. I said probably best breeder to Toby. I got to think about it. Boy, them's gonna be good. And I called him back to see about maybe buying the litter. He said, we'll talk about it. I met him up at Pocahontas to pick her up to bring her down here to breed. And before I could say anything about buying that litter of puppies when she had them, he told me that he was getting to the age he was going to have to hang it up, and said he'd just sell her back to me. And I jumped on that and got her back here, and she won't go anywhere again. She's been a good addition. You know, that's another one of those deals, Lucky, that it came up. Because once these dogs get in the hands of somebody else, most of the time you're never going to get them back. These dogs don't get passed around much. I don't know.
Well,
I think I have that same problem too. Every time I sell one, it's doing something. I can't buy nothing back.
No. I've been fortunate enough this past year. I did get two back. Bought the Peggy Sue dog back from Hoyt Gilbert, which she's a out of that first cross with Banjo and Toby. Then I got the opportunity to get my hands on Toby, and that was big. He's going to be my main dog this year. I don't know if I've mentioned it or not, but he's a litter mate to Moon Pie.
Okay.
Toby was one of them situations. A buddy of mine had him over here, and I could go get him anytime I wanted him. But it's a lot better having him here, living here, and getting to enjoy him every day. He's really nice. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with him this year. He's one of them old dogs. He's run loose all of his life over there, and that's how come me to wind up to be able to get him. The guys had a neighbor shoot one of his dogs, and I mean just for no reason shot it, and he was having to keep Toby chained up, and it was killing him. He said, I can't stand to see it. That's how come me to be able to get him. Now he's running around here. So.
And Ryan's going to be hunting fiddle, so y'all be battling a little bit.
Yeah. If things work out, Chuck Poole is going to be hunting Peggy Sue. So between the three of us, we'll be hunting a daddy and two daughters they'd be full sisters, but they'll be out of different litters.
Well, next year we'll have to call you and say Todd Coles a 5-time breeder.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because even on top of that, there are just a couple other dogs that landed on the radar in research. I've got Dora, Honey, Dixie, and of course you've already mentioned Fiddle. So lots of booster dogs to beat this year.
Yeah. You see, Dora, she's a litter mate to Banjo.
Sounds like that was a good litter.
It was, and we're weaning the litter off just like them right now. We bred Boss and Dixie again. This is the second time Dixie's ever been bred. Both times it's been the Boss, and we just weaned the litter off. She had 4 boys and 1 girl, and Ryan's keeping the girl out of that. We get a little more infusion of that blood, and that's and that's one of the ways I like to breed too. Of course, you want to breed to a good dog, but I like to breed the good dogs out of good crosses. You get to looking back through my pedigrees, and of course, most people can't look at my pedigrees and know my lines, but you can see it. I breed to successful crosses a lot, and I think that makes a difference. You know as well as I do, sometimes that blood gels right and sometimes it don't. If you can keep all of it that gels right, you're kind of stacking things in your favor.
Absolutely. Well, something else that landed on the radar, I want to just get an update from you, really, just out of curiosity. You had made a mention that you had, I think it was last year, you had bred back to a Kimmer.
Yes.
How did that turn out?
Yes. It's looking good. Jury's still out. This is going to be the first season on them. They'll be a year old the 27th of this month. The one I kept, Buku, I started to say she's never seen a pen. She has the last couple of days. She's coming heat for her first time right now. Well, I'm fixing to be gone for the weekend. The wife's real happy about that. But she's treeing squirrels here around the house and stuff. Which, and when I say treeing squirrels here around the house, I've got 40-acre block of woods that joins my yard here. So
okay.
You know, it's not yard squirrels. It's wood squirrels.
Well, how'd they turn out in size and color? Did they come out yellow, or did that booster brindle cover them up?
There was one yellow male.
Keep the yellow ones. Keep the yellow ones, Todd.
Well, I'm not against that at all. I've got a yellow dog running around here. She's as brindle as she can be on the inside. She's yellow on the outside, but they was one yellow male out of that bunch. Calvin got him. That's the one he wanted, and lo and behold, he had a neighbor shoot it.
Oh my gosh!
So,
stay out of Arkansas.
Yeah. Well, no, this was South Louisiana.
Oh, I got you.
Where Calvin's at. They're doing good. Lee Fairchild's got one over here just west of me a little ways that's been treeing for a while, and the others are starting to show pretty good. So,
how do you think they'll size out?
Lee's dog, I hadn't laid eyes on it since it left here, but judging by the size it was and what I have seen, he's going to be too big to Feist register. Calvin's male that he had, I believe you could have squeaked him in. All the females are going Feist register. We was pretty fortunate on that. And I'm fixing to do something that I don't normally do. I normally won't breed a female on their first heat. But this little gyp's showing me enough, and I think the next cross may be the sweet spot, so to call it. I'm going to go ahead and breed her this go around and just spread these pups around to my buddies and see what they do.
What about the fast little birdie dog you had? That's a female, right? Are you still hunting her?
Birdie had a run in with a car.
Dang.
That hurt. He was, now that was one that hadn't calmed down any since Booster. That dog was a live wire. And what she was out of boss, and her mama was litter mate to Moon Pie. What got her mother was boss and a litter mate to Moon Pie, and then we bred her mother to Prince, Moon Pie's daddy. So as a grandfather-granddaughter cross on Prince. Oh, she was wild and crazy, but there's two litter mates to her in Georgia, doing good, and I have access to the breed. So, and that's another thing on this Breeder of the Year deal. All these guys that's hunting these dogs of mine, I mean, we all work together real close. That helps a lot. We're all pretty well dedicated to keep this line going. That moves the process along faster. You can do more than one person, because I mean, if I had all those dogs here, I'd be sitting on 20 dogs. I don't want to be there. I've got as many as I've ever had in my life right now, and I've got 8. And let me tell you,
that's plenty.
Yes, that's plenty, especially when you try to keep the rust knocked off of all of them through hunting season.
Well, so all those guys that are hunting your dogs for you, I saw you had made a comment and discussed one of your pups or something. I don't remember how old the post was, but they were going to make the travel team. So all those guys that hunt with you, is that what you call the travel team?
Yeah, we kind of joke around about that.
It's fitting, because you got to travel in the ATFA, so it's fitting.
Yeah.
So who are we going to see? Who we're going to see on the travel team this year? You mentioned Toby.
Yeah. This going to sound like I'm bragging, but I'd like to make a run for Dog of the Year with Toby, but I'm afraid he's going to champion out too quick. He's that nice a dog. Yeah, you might see Ryan and Criddle. You might see Peggy Sue. I guarantee you'll see Chad and Dixie, and probably Grayson and Dora. That's Grayson is Chad's son.
Okay.
And then James Day, he's got Bourbon. She's a litter mate to Moon Pie and Toby. She's one of them. She's got a win. She's got one regional win, and Lord knows how many points. And it just can't come together for that another win for him. I'd love for him to get it. ATFA does a page in the yearbook. Any dogs that champion and are litter mates, they get a page in the yearbook. And I'd love to have one of those pages. Then you got Bobby and Travis Day from Georgia also. You're liable to see them popping up. Travis, he's been on the table with his once or twice. And Tony Key down there at Magnolia, he's got Ditto. Tony, he just shows up every now and then and wins and goes.
He's got it figured out.
Yeah, and he's smarter than the rest of us. And,
well, something else flattering I came up with while I was kind of surfing around, and and actually I came across this whenever after my dog got run over, and I was, like I said, I wallered for about a month, and after that I was kind of in high gear, afraid to miss this fall season. And I had landed in your puppies chat on Facebook for your Powered by Booster page, and I had seen some guys going back and forth that I'm sure the listeners of this show, if they're not already watching Meat Eater, I encourage them to. I'm a big fan of Steven Ranella's stuff, but I had seen in the comments of that chat that the dogs on the Hillbilly Heaven episode, which is season 10, the dogs they were hunting while they were on mules were actually booster dogs as well, right?
Yeah. Both those dogs are out of boss.
I got you. Okay, that was my next question. Who, they didn't. Unfortunately, Meat Eater wasn't thinking about us Feist guys. They didn't talk about the dogs near as much as I wanted them
to. No.
They were more worried about their mules, and I like a mule, but I care more about the dogs. But
yeah.
So they're out of boss. Do you know? And I forget the guy's name that was with them hunting. Is that one of your travel team guys? Do you know him, or did he just happen to get some pups from you?
No, that's Clay Newcomb. He's the Bear Grease podcast guy.
Yeah, I know Clay. There was somebody else with him, and maybe he had a coon dog because they coon hunted that night. I think I forget.
Both those dogs belong to Clay.
Okay.
They, like I say, they're out of boss, and actually one of them is out of boss and a booster bred female, and the other one out of a female that a guy just came and bred the boss. And
Clay does some bear hunting. He needs to get back on YouTube or whatever and show us a video of those booster dogs underneath some bears. What I want to see.
Yeah, that's kind of on my bucket list. I'd like to tree a bear with mine. I've never done that. I've put a lot of other things up trees and bait different critters, but a bear eluded me so far. Now, the Ellie Mae dog, boss, Moon Pie and Toby's mama, she treated a few bears in her lifetime. You got to be careful around here. They don't want you hunting bears with dogs in Arkansas.
So it's got to be a complete accident.
Yeah, well, and it was Ellie Mae. I mean, it's one of them deals, her running loose around the house, tree a bear, So
I'm in Kentucky. If there's a bear that close to my house, I encourage anything in my yard to tree it. We don't have a lot of bear issues up here. But there was a debate in that show, just to have a little fun with you. Clay and Newcomb and Steven Ranella kind of went back and forth about shotgun versus 22. So just to have a little fun with you, as much pleasure hunting as you do, which one do you prefer?
Depends on time of year.
That's about how I am, whether the leaves are on or whether the leaves are off.
Yeah. When the leaves fall, I tend to want to grab my 22, but with the leaves on, I want that shotgun.
Nah, I'm with you there. Yeah. The best scenario is both, to have a guy with a 22, and then in case he happens to miss, then the shotgun can always back him up.
Yeah, Yeah, and I really like that scenario, and if at all possible, I'm gonna be the one with the 22.
That's
So,
the way I am.
I've got a little Magnum Research with a carbon fiber barrel, and it don't weigh much, and I'm all about light these days. It, lighter I can travel, the better. And I've thought about going to a 20 gauge, but this timber I hunt is just so big. You've got to have 12 gauge. It's a stretch for a 20. We hunt this big hardwood bottom timber. I keep asking Chad to come go hunting, which I think I've got him talked into coming to Booster Fest this year. Load up and come with him.
I may do it. I've got young kids, so I'm about like your son. You know, I'm not a newlywed. Been married for, I don't know, I'm on record 10 years. No, been together 10 years, married 8 years.
Yeah.
But so and we've got young babies. I'm not honeymooning, but still got to ask permission every now and then.
Yeah.
I don't want to sleep outside with the dog.
Yeah. I think my wife's like Don Price's wife was years ago. He was an old squirrel hunter, had some awful good dogs. He was from down in Alabama. He'd come up here and hunt with me, and he just stayed gone all the time, traveling all over the country with them dogs. And I called down there looking for him one day, and his wife answered the phone. I said, I bet you get tired of Don being gone all the time. He kind of laughed, and she said, actually, I enjoy Don's time away. I think that may be where my wife's at now. Yeah, just go hunting. Get out of here.
So every time I call Todd or Todd calls me, or 99% of the time, it's going to be an hour and a half ordeal.
Oh, yeah.
And I enjoy that, but I called Todd one day and we was talking, and I'd been hunting, and we got to talking about tree and game and stuff we've done with our dog. You know, it's like, well, Bo got me a raccoon, you know, and yeah, when we got talking, I've treed raccoons and possums, and I said, I killed a bobcat to him. Yeah, we've got a couple of bobcats. I said, well, one day Bo was treed and his bark changed. I guess a pig come after him, so he bayed that pig up. Todd said, I still got you beat. I was like, you still got me beat? Yeah, I still got you beat. Now, well, what do you got that's got me beat? So, Todd, won't you tell everybody what you got me beat on?
Gosh, I bayed an emu. That's the dangest thing. In fact, it was a male that I had out of the Booster and Dutchess cross. He was a young dog. I was hunting here on the farm. I mean, there ain't no emu on this farm, and he was starting to tree a little bit, and I had him over here across the road, patch of woods. Man, he just blew up. It is the awfulest sounding thing you ever heard. I start to him, and where he's at, it's in a thicket there. And I start wading through that mess to get in there, and I walk in. There's a little opening in it, and I walk in, and there that dog is bayed up on a blame emu. And, you know, you think, what in the world? And, of course, it's squirrel season. I had my shotgun with me. And by the time I walked in on that thing, it looked at me, and it cocked back and did them wings out. And I took that as attack mode. I laid him out. So I have bayed and killed an emu.
Where did the emu come from?
I have no idea.
So what you're saying is, in order to beat you got to get real exotic.
Yeah.
Like giraffes or something.
And hey, I'll give y'all a heads up. If you ever talk to Owen Brayson, now he ain't gonna have a story about him baying anything like that, but you'll have to ask him about the time the Watusi bayed him.
We will make a note of that.
Them horns be bigger than no one.
That is a funny story. He was hunting on some private game preserve. he got cornered up on top of an old wrecked car by a Watusi bull. Yeah, that's all I'll tell about it. I'll let him tell the rest.
I can't wait to ask him about that.
Yeah.
So you touched on it a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about Booster Fest.
Well, okay, it's just a get together. A little different than most of these squirrel dog functions. We changed it up last year just for convenience. Actually, the first Saturday of it is the Arkansas ATFA hunt. Once that hunt's over and everybody that's going home goes home, the ones that are staying, I rent a big duck lodge down there, and I'm talking it's a big one. It sleeps like 16, 17 people. Got 2 kitchens, 4 bathrooms, big 2-story place, nice pool table. It's a pretty nice joint. We just spend a week squirrel hunting, cooking and eating and talking dogs. It's a heck of a week. Of course, there ain't many can stay all week, but they stay as long as they can, and then normally about Thursday, the next Thursday, we'll load up and move somewhere else and hunt another spot in Arkansas. But down there where we have this, there's around 100,000 acres or so of public land.
All right.
Available. And
have you got to have a booster dog to come?
No. I mean, if you want to do any good, you ought to. But...
And why in the world did you invite me? I need to stay home.
I said that for Cody Barnes. So.
Oh, okay. I was hoping you'd get something in on Cody after that telephone, comment.
Well, Cody probably went to bed. His clock won't tell him the right time. He probably past his bedtime, he thinks.
Yeah, his battery's dead on his clock. But
I'll tell you what, touching on ATFA, I want to touch on them one more time, if that's okay. I've been to a couple of ATFA hunts, and I remember the first ATFA hunt, I bet, when I walked through the door and walked up to, sign in and register my dog. I believe everybody in the building walked up, shook my hand, told me how glad they was to see me. And that meant a lot to me. And then that was in Tennessee. And talking about terrain, now going up to hunt Tennessee, you'll think, how in the world am I going to get to the top of this mountain?
They'll scare you to death.
And how in the world am I going to walk it? Well, when you get on top, it's flat. It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then we come down to LBL down here, and I'm hunting with them. And when you go to a hunt and there's 21 dogs in the hunt, and then you take 25 people sitting together at the same restaurant after the hunt, you kind of know you're in the right place. And I mean, it's just a family-oriented, good time when you go to an ATFA hunt.
We're a close bunch, and I tell you, I feel bad that I don't get out and do more stuff like with y'all, and there's a lot of us feel the same way. And I tell you what, it goes back to, we're hunters. We're pleasure hunters first and foremost, and these ATFA hunts, we have one hunt a month. You go do that, and then you start going to others. But I'm going to try to make a point to get to some of y'all stuff this year. I want to. There's a lot of guys hunt with y'all that I know well. I'm sure it'd be about the same situation, except for Cody. You can't help him. But no, Cody's a fine fella. But I really want to try to make a point and come around when I hit my big vacation this winter. I'm going to take some time. You might look for me. Keep me a spot open.
Oh yeah, we've always got a spot for you.
I'm like you. I think we would all enjoy participating back and forth, and as clubs we need to stick together because there ain't nobody else going to help us out.
A lot of truth there.
I know y'all know Kevin Harrell. He said it perfect one time. We was talking dogs like me and you do, and he said, Well, Todd, we all want the same dog. And he's right. He's right. We all want the same dog.
I don't know, Kevin, but I felt terrible for him that, Cody told that story that he blindfolded him, taking him in, and let him out another way. I mean, Cody did all that to me. I'd be worried.
Well, I talked to Kevin the other day. He said, well, what Cody don't know was I hunted there 15 years before he done that to me.
And I bet he did. I bet he did. Oh, Lord. Kevin to do it to Cody, so you don't have to worry about feeling sorry for either one of them. They live off that. I tell you, they're good old boys.
Well, Todd, we appreciate you coming on. I think we've got a lot of good stuff here.
I hope so.
Before we wrap it up, is there anything, you're technically kind of our first breeder spotlight, I guess. We wanted to hit on the 4 consecutive years of ATFA Breeder of the Year and then kind of go through some of the dogs that's got you there in your bloodline, and hopefully we did a good job on that. But if we left anything out, is there anything you want to add?
Oh, no, not really. I don't guess. If anybody's got any questions or anything, feel free to call. I mean, y'all sit here and listen to me yak. I'm really not that hard to talk to. So.
Well, and you've got a real good active Facebook page too. That Powered by Booster page is pretty active. A lot of activity on there, which is good to see. It, for a dog guy like me, I don't care about vacation pictures and politics. I'd rather get on Facebook and look at dogs.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and I'm pretty proud of that page, and it's growing. We pick up a few members here and there, and I'm sure we'll pick up some after this airs. I really wondered what kind of chore it was going to be taking care of that, but it's not been a chore at all. We've not had any drama on the page. We're not going to have it'll be gone, and they'll be gone.
Right.
I'm just real proud of it. And of course, my Facebook page, my personal page, is just a mirror of it, pretty much. You can look around and see all the politics and plates of food you want to see. And,
that's right.
I like to look at dogs and read about dogs. So, but yeah, they can find me there, message me, or give me a call or whatever they want to do if they've got any questions. And anytime, if anybody wants to come go hunting, I'm more than happy to take anybody hunting with anything I've got here. That's another thing that I take a lot of pride in. That I've got 8 dogs running around here, but I'll pick up any one of them you want to go with, and we'll go tree squirrels. I know there's other people that can do that too, but it's fewer and further between than what a lot of people think. But anyway, I sure appreciate y'all calling me.
All right. Well, I will let that wrap us in, fellas. Todd, again, we appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Look forward to following you and kind of pacing along with you this year.
Well, when it cools off, I'll give you something to look at.
All right.
All right. Well, y'all have a good night.
All right. You too.
Have a good night.